Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Anil Joshi. Welcome you to my series of lecture that is Learn Radiology from Dr. Anil Joshi. Today's lecture topic is radiation physics and production of X-rays. Obviously, the topic is theoretical and there are a lot of material which is borrowed from the net as a free download. Since it is a physics material, it's a fixed thing. And most of the material which we have collected is royalty free, and free of any royalties, or they are free downloads. Now here we go to the main topic after the disclaimers. The purpose of this video is purely meant for those who are learning radiology and want to know physics of X-ray, as well as those boys who are having MIT courses and aspiring to be a technician. So this topic is targeted at them, and the depth of knowledge is selected accordingly. Now we'll go to radiation physics, that is the first production of X-rays. Now the basic of all these things are the atoms. Now atoms are electrically neutral. Why they are neutral is, though they have got both positive as well as negative charge, their charge is balanced. Now how it is, that is, they are charged with the negative particle, they are called as electron. They are also constituted by the positively charged particles, they are called as protons. And the third are the neutrons, which do not have any positive neither a negative charge. The nucleus is formed by the neutrons and protons, and the electrons rotate around them. Now electrostatic forces are attraction between protons and the electron, since they carry a positive and a negative charge. Now there is a centrifugal force which pulls electrons away from the nucleus. Now we see here a equation. Now balance between the electrostatic force and centrifugal force keeps electrons in orbit around the nucleus. As you are seeing, there is a positively charged as well as negatively charged particle, but they are balanced. Now who keeps them binding, or what is the binding energy? Why they are stable is because of the amount of energy required to remove the electrons from its orbit. They have got a binding force by which they are bound together, and if they need to be removed from the orbit, a energy is required. Now the amount of energy required to remove electron from an orbit is equal to electrostatic forces. Now it depends on the atomic number of the proton, that is written as Z. Now what is electromagnetic radiation? The movement of the energy through the space as a combination of electric and magnetic field is called as electromagnetic radiation. They travel at the speed of light. Now electromagnetic radiation travel at the speed of light, and the movement of energy through the space as a combination of electric and magnetic field. Now this is the speed of light which is designated. Now which are the electromagnetic radiations? X-ray, gamma ray, microwave, visible light, TV waves, and radio waves are the electromagnetic radiations. Now what is energy? Energy is ability to penetrate. So higher the energy is higher the penetration. Now it depends on the wavelength. Shorter the wavelength, higher will be the energy, and higher the frequency, higher will be the energy level. Now here you are seeing A, B and C. Now what is the difference? Now A, it has got highest energy since it has got shortest wavelength and highest frequency. Now if we come to B and C, now C has got the highest energy and lowest wavelength. Now all these electromagnetic waves travel in a straight line. They cannot be focused to a point. Differently absorbed can cause a fluorescence. That means if there are certain particles, if there are certain molecules on which if the radiation falls, they can be absorbed differently and that can cause a fluorescence. That is the conversion into a light. Now, they have also got a harmful effect to the living tissues. Out of these, the fluorescence is made importance in fluoroscopy of the X-ray. These are the X-ray characteristics. Further going, high energy levels is another characteristic. They have got no mass, there are no charges, so they are neither positive nor negative, and they travel at the speed of light and they are not visible. That's why they are called as X-rays. Now X-ray machine is a machine which produces all these things, and we make use of the properties of these X-rays to diagnose different tissues and to diagnose different diseases. Now, X-ray machines. Primary component of an X-ray machines are the X-ray tube, then X-ray power supply, and X-ray tube is composed within the tube head. So there is a casing, in that there is a tube head along with some components of the power supply. Now this is the X-ray tube. In that there are different type of X-ray tubes which we are going to see in subsequent lecture. Now, what is X-ray tube? X-ray tube is composed of a cathode and anode and situated within an evacuated glass envelope or a tube. Now, each and every importance of each and everything which we are going to see, why there is a vacuum, why it is of the glass, and how it holds the anode and cathode. Now, electrons are emitted from the cathode. Cathode emits electrons. Now, after the electrons from the cathode are emitted, or sometimes it is called as they get boiled off, then they are sent to a target, or they attracted, or they are pulled, or they are accelerated towards a target, that is the anode. Now this produces X-rays. Now X-rays are produced by cathode by boiling electrons, by liberating them, then accelerating them, then they get and hit the cathode, and that emits the X-rays. Now, X-ray tube consists of a filament and a focusing cup. What is a filament? It's a source of electron. Now, filament should supply electrons. Coil of a tungsten wire about 2 mm in diameter and 1 cm or less in length is used as a filament. Now, this filament role is to supply the electrons. Now, when heated to when it is heated, it produces the electron by boiling off the effect. Now it is because of the current flowing through the high voltage current is flowing through it. Now it emits the electron at a rate proportional to the temperature of the filament. So the filament gets heated and it eliminates the electron, or it boils off the electrons. Now X-ray tube has got a focusing tube. Now it's negatively charged concave reflector made of molybdenum. Now molybdenum is used to prepare a focusing cup. Now parabolic, it has got a parabolic shape, electrostatically focused the electrons into a narrow beam. Now its function is to focus the electrons into a narrow beam so that a sharp image will be produced. It is directed at a small rectangular area on the anode called as a focal spot. So focal spot is the area from where the X-rays are generated. Now electron move in this direction. repelled by the negatively charged cathode. Now, cathode boils off the electron and it hits to the anode, which converts it into a X-rays. It has got a focal spot where it is done. Now, attracted by the positively charged anode, now cathode is negative. Now, anode is positive. So, from negative, they are attracted to the positive, and from there, they are converted into the X-rays. Now, what X-ray tube has got is the evacuated to prevent collision of the fast moving electrons with the gas molecules, significantly reduces their speed. This has to be a vacuum. Now, if there is no vacuum, there may be some gases in it, and the gas particle will collide against the electrons, and again they may result into production of the scattered rays. So, to prevent this collision of fast moving electrons with the gas molecule, the X-ray tube, that is glass tube, is totally vacuumated. There is nothing in between. It prevents oxidation and burnout of the filament. Otherwise, because of the high temperature, if there is oxygen in it, the filament, that is tungsten, will get melted and it will be rusted and gets burned off. Now, X-ray tube, we have got two types of stationary anode. We will see first stationary anode. It consists of a tungsten target embedded in a copper stem. Now, it converts kinetic energy of the colliding electrons into the X-ray photons. Now, why it is tungsten? The tungsten is the ideal target material. It has got high atomic number, that is 74. Then high melting point. So, because of heat, it doesn't melt. Then it will stand high temperature. Then it has got high thermal conductivity, ready to dissipate the heat, because lot of heat is going to be produced in the production of X-rays, which needs to be dissipated, that is to be removed from the focal spot. Now, it has got low vapor pressure at the working temperature, so that is maintained by the vacuum. Now, how an anode looks like. Now, it is a stationary anode. It has got a focal spot, you are seeing it, that is of conducting material, and it is surrounded also by the copper. Why copper? Is because it is the best conductor and it dissipates heat immediately from the anode. Continuing, stationary anode, that is the copper stain. What we have discussed just now is during the process, more than 99% of the electron kinetic energy is converted into heat. So, when the X-ray production takes place, there are two things that can occur. One thing is certain electrons will get converted into a X-ray, and remaining will produce heat effect. Now, this effect is around 99%. So, only 1% of it is effective in in producing the X-rays. Then it readily dissipated this heat by the good conductors. Now, unless we use a good conductor, the heat that is going to be accumulated here will not be dissipated. Additionally, insulating oil is used in certain tubes again to dissipate the heat production. Now, the insulating oil is between the glass envelope and the housing of the tube, and it carries heat away from the copper stain. Now, what is a focal spot? Focal spot is the area on the target to which the focusing cup directs the electrons. Now, the sharpness of a radiographic image inversely proportional to the area of focal spot. So, larger is the focal spot, less sharp is the image. Or in other words, if we have to get a good quality sharp image, the focal spot has to be as small, as sharp as possible. Now, heat generation per unit in the target area increases the area of focal spot. Now, therefore, we have to reduce the heat production. So, heat generator per unit target area increases as per the focal spot decreases. So which means again the same what I have just now told. Now this is the X-ray tube again, is the target where it is shown, and the anode they have shown focusing cups which focuses the electrons. Continuing with the focal spot, to take advantage of a small focal spot while distributing the electrons over a large area of the target is placed at an angle to the electronic beam. So if it is placed at a 45 degrees angulation, it will get narrowed. We are going to see it by the means of a illustration over the diagram. This angle is called as the angle of incineration, which is around 20 degrees. Now, effective focal spot, that is 1 mm or smaller than the actual focal size, will be 1 into 3 mm. Now let us go to the rotating anode. Till now we have seen a stationary anode. The heat dissipation is required. Now a stationary anode has got limitation. Now that is overcome with the help of rotating anode when we are going to use the higher capacity tubes, when the heat is also going to be produced in more quantity. Now tungsten target is in the form of a bevel disc. A small disc is there on which the tungsten is embedded. It rotates with the tube is in operation. So once we want to take the X-ray, first we start the rotation of the anode. So once the rotation goes to the peak of the rotation, then only the X-rays hit on that, so that while the X-rays are being hit, the different surface of the anode comes in the contact. Now let's see with the illustration, same thing. Now strike successive areas of the target when it is rotating are the different when it comes in the contact. Widening of the focal spot by an amount corresponding to the circumstance of the bevel disc. This is what is achieved. Now distributing the heat over the extended area. Now since the anode is rotating at a particular time, a different area comes in contact. So since it is moving, different area comes in the contact, heat dissipation will be in more effective way. This is shown in this diagram. You can see it. Now again going in more detail of rotating anode. The focal spot is now called focal track because in stationary there was a single area, but while in rotating it's a track. So in rotating anode the focal spot is called as focal track, and in stationary it is called as a focal spot. So it can be accepted, it can accept tube current of 100 to 500 mA, that is 10 to 50 times that of the stationary anode. So this is the advantage we achieved, that the tube rating of the rotating anode tube will be much higher than that of the stationary. It will be 10 to 50 times more because of the rotation and the different contact coming every time, causing more dissipation of the heat. Now 3000 revolution per minute is the minimum speed required to give a appropriate dissipation. Now in dental film or in dental X-rays, in dental application, we are using a small radiation. So in that there is no need to use a rotating anode because rotating anode tube is slightly bulky and larger in size. So it is not used in intraoral dental machines since they need a small machine which can be maneuvered, and in the X-rays they take is of limited kV and ms. It may be used in tomographic or in cephalometric units. Now, units is the machines. Always used in medicine, always used in a medical computerized tomography machine, X-ray machine, which require high output of voltage. Now, see this. Now, again, we are continuing with rotating anode. Now, here you can see we are applying high voltage from here. So this is a high voltage required. This high voltage goes here, it goes to the cathode. So this is a cathode. What cathode does is, when the voltage is applied, it gets heated and it emits the electrons, or it is called as the boiling of the electrons. Now why this glass casing is given? It is to hold this equipment, number one, and number two, it is evacuated so that when these X-ray, when these electrons are moving, they will not collide with the gas particles. Now the potential difference is applied between the cathode and the anode. So the speed of the electron will be accelerated. Now once it is accelerated, here suddenly they are decelerated. Now accelerated electron, once rapidly decelerated, will get converted into a X-rays. So this will be X-rays. Now as we have said, this anode has got a tungsten track and it has got angulation. Now these are the things which makes it rotate. So these are the bearings. This is the plies which will make it rotating. Now as far this part is concerned, its role is to keep the tungsten anode rotating and to bring different part here in contact with the bombarded electrons. Now the X-rays are produced here, which comes out. Now 99% of the process here is a production of heat and only 1% is a production of X-rays. This is to be kept in mind. Now first is the power supply. Power supply is necessary to heat the cathode filament to generate electrons, because unless you heat a cathode, there will not be boiling out of the electrons, and unless the electrons are boiled out, they will not be attracted towards say anode and they will not be converted into the X-rays. So first is we have to heat a cathode, or cathode has to be there, and that is done by the help of power supply. Now, heat the cathode filament to generate electrons. Establish a high voltage potential difference between the anode and cathode to accelerate the electrons towards the anode. See, this is what is happening here. The AC supply is connected. Now this AC supply goes to the transformer. The design of this transformer we are going to see later, not right now. Right now we are only at this portion, that is the tube. Now here what is seeing, this is a cathode which is emitting X-rays, and this is an anode which is having tungsten. It boils off the electrons. Here the potential difference is applied and they are accelerated, and suddenly here due to the deceleration they are get produced into the X-rays. Now the filament transformer, as I said you, is meant only to heat the filament, because unless the filament is heated, the electrons will not get boiled off and there will not be a production of X-rays. That's why first power supply is applied. Now the power supply is consisting of two transformers. That is a filament transformer which is meant only to heat the filament. It has got 3 to 5 voltage, not very high really of the high rating, but it's a small which role is to only heat the filament. And second is the high voltage transformer which creates 65 to 110 kV. Please note, from volt it is getting converted into kVs. So that is the HT, that is the high tension transformer. That is a different entity, and which we are going to see it in a different lecture. Today's lecture is meant only for the tube functioning. Now this lie within the electrically grounded metal housing called as a tube head. Now electrical insulating metal, usually oil, surrounds the tube and the transformer. Now the role of oil, one is to dissipate the heat, and second is it is the inert. It will prevent the electricity being leaked. So it's a perfect insulating material, or it is called as insulating oil. Now flow of electrons through the tube. We are seeing the tube current now. Tube has to have one thing is the tube current. Now the flow of the electron through the tube or the filament tube anode and again back to the filament. Now this is the role of a first, that is the tube. Now is the transformer. The transformer is a device used to either step up or step down the voltage. Now designing of transformer as per the primary and the secondary differs, and that gives a step up or step down transformer, which is again going to be seen when we are going to see the designing of transformers. Now it has got two coils, primary and secondary. The X-ray production is in two circuits are used, filaments are used of the high voltage. Now this is shown here. Now coming to filament current. Now coming to a power supply, that is the filament circuit. It reduces the voltage about 10 volts, regulatory by the filament current or control, that is MA selector. So MA and kV are the two essential facts when we do a radiography. They regulates the filament temperature and thus the number of electrons emitted, that is 10 MA. This is not the same as that is the current in the filament circuit. It is different. Now tube voltage. Tube voltage is regulated by auto transformer. High voltage is required between the anode and the cathode, gives electrons sufficient energy to generate the X-rays. Then kilovoltage peak kVp selector is adjusted from the auto transformer as per the need of a radiography. The booster peak voltage of the incoming line current, that is 110 to 220, different depends on the different countries and different machines. The input can be either 110 or 220 volts. In here we are using of 220 volts, that is converted into 60 kV to 100 kV. Now this energy 60 kV to 100 kV is sufficient energy to generate X-rays and to radiograph a different part. Now polarity of AC is usually a alternate current. So does the polarity of the X-ray tube at the same frequency. So the X-ray is produced when filament is negative and the target is positive. As we have seen, it has to travel with a speed to the anode from cathode. So there has to be a charge difference of negative and positive to get attracted to the it. So in alternate current, when their polarity changes, what it says is when the polarity of AC current alternates, so does the polarity of the X-ray tube. So in that case, X-rays are produced when only filament is negative and target is positive. In this, the other half, there is no production of X-ray. That is, in the wave, there are only half the wave is going to be utilized to produce the X-rays. This half of the cycle is called as inverse voltage or the reverse bias. So this is to be important and kept in mind when we are going to see rectification, that is a full wave and half rectification. Also, X-rays production is maximum at the peak voltage in the form of pulses. So 60 pulses of the X-rays are generated each second, each having a duration of 1 by 120 seconds. It limits the X-ray production to the half of the AC cycle and is called as half rectified or half wave rectification. Now coming to power supply. Some dental X-ray manufacturers produces machines that replace the conventional half wave rectified power supply with a full wave rectification. So in what happens is, in the negative cycle is converted into the positive cycle and it is called as the full wave rectification. So either you can cut off the half cycle or you can convert it into a useful cycle. So that is called full wave rectification. This result is an essentially consistent potential between the anode and the cathode. Mean energy of the X-ray beam produced is comparatively higher when operated at the same voltage. The images resulting from these machines has a longer contrast scale and a patent or a patient receives a lower dose of radiation. Now coming to a timer. Timer is built into a high voltage circuit to control the duration of the X-ray exposure. Subjecting the filament to the continuous heating of the normal operating current, it shortens the life. So, to minimize a filament damage by a continuous exposure, a timer is put. The timer first sends a current through the filament for about half a second. So first the filament is heated properly or prepared properly, it emits the electrons and then it applies power of high voltage circuit to produce the X-rays. In that way, the unnecessary wear and tear of the machine is prevented. In some circuit designs, a continuous low wave current passing through the filament maintains it at a safe low temperature and shortening the delay preheat the filament. So these are the what is tube rating. X-ray tube produces a heat at the target while in operation. Measured in the heat unit, as that is given in the heat units are kVp into MA into seconds. So these gives you a tube rating. The dental diagnostic tube is approximately 20 kHu. Heat is removed from the target by conducting to the copper anode and then to the surrounding oil and tube housing by connection to the atmosphere. Now, tube rating. Described as the longest exposure time the tube can energize for a range of voltage and tube current, that is MA and kVp values will decide it without risk of damaging. So how much kV you can give and how much MA you can give maximum is decided by the tube rating chart to safeguard the tube and to prevent it from heating and getting worn out. And do not impose any restrictions on the tube used for intraoral radiography concern for extraoral exposures. So these exposures are different and they should not be mixed. Now these are a duty cycle. Now related to the frequency of which the successive exposures can be made. If you want to make faster exposures or slower exposure will be decided on that. The interval between the successive exposures must be long enough for the heat dissipation. If you go on successive exposures without waiting, there will be tube heat and there will be damages to the equipment. This is a function of the size of the anode because the anode dissipates the heat. So how much heat is dissipated, how is the design of the anode, and all that thing will depend its heat dissipation. More it quickly dissipates the heat, it will have better tube ratings, more kV, more MA can be given. Successive repeated X-rays can be done. Now, production of X-rays. The most high-speed electrons traveling from the filament to the target interact with the target electrons and release their energy as the heat. So as I said, most of the energy is converted into the heat and a small amount that is converted into the X-rays. Occasionally, however, electrons convert their kinetic energy into X-ray photons by the formation of Bremsstrahlung radiation. And characteristic radiation. These are the two types of different radiation. Characteristic radiation is useful coming to Bremsstrahlung radiation. Now, Bremsstrahlung means breaking radiation in German. sudden stopping or allowing of the high-speed electrons, that is tungsten nuclei, in the target. Now, primary source of radiation. Occasionally, electrons from the filament directly hit the nucleus of the target atom. All the kinetic energy of the electron is transferred into a single X-ray photon. Now, energy of the resultant photon is thus numerically equal to the energy of the electron voltage applied across the X-ray tube at the instant. In other word means, now we have got at one side cathode, which is boiling out electrons. At the other end, we got anode, which role is to stop the fast moving electrons and then to convert it. Now, in this process, majority is converted into the X-ray and certain majority is converted into heat and certain part is converted into X-rays. Now, once it is happening, this affects now how it takes place. Now, this is Ramsay-Strangling radiation. Now, this is the, let us see how it is produced. Now, this is the incident high energy electron which is moving. Now, here it is colliding. Now, if it is colliding here, the energy it has got will be given to here. Now, this is called as Bremse-Strangling photon of maximum energy, because this is going almost in a straight line. It has happened because of the direct hit interaction. Strahlan radiation. Now, more frequently, high speed electrons have their orbit misses with atomic nuclei. Electron is attracted towards the positively charged nuclei. Its path is altered towards the nucleus and it loses some of its velocity. This deceleration caused in the electron to lose kinetic energy that is given in the form of a many new photons. The closer the high-speed electron approaches the nuclei, the greater is the electrostatic attraction between the nucleus and the electron. Bremse-Strangling radiation is the energy of an X-ray beam that is usually described by the identifying peak operating kV. Now here it is seen as the diagram. This is the incident high energy electron is coming here. This is the high energy electron. Now here the collision has occurred. Now this is direct hit interaction. It has gone towards this side. Now this is the altered path of deflection decelerated electron. Now it will not have as high speed as that of the incident or this electron. And there is one more here. This is the Bremse-Strangling photon of the low energy. So this will result into the different energy levels. Now coming back to Bremse-Strangling radiation. Now Bremse-Strangling interactions generate X-rays photons with a continuous spectrum of the energy. Now continuous varying voltage difference between the target and the filaments. Now bombarding electron passes at a varying distances around the tungsten nuclei and are thus reflected to varying extent. And many electrons participate in many Bremse-Strangling interaction in target before losing its kinetic energy. Now coming to characteristic radiation. Characteristic radiation, it contributes by a small fraction of the photon in an X-ray beam. When incident electron ejects an inner electron from the tungsten target, an electron from the outer orbit is quickly attracted to the void in the deficient inner orbit. When the outer orbit electron replaces the dissipated electron, a photon is eliminated with an energy equivalent to the difference in the two orbital bindings energies. Now, the energies of the characteristic photons are discrete because they represent difference of the energy level of the electron orbital levels, and hence the characteristic of the atom is seen. Now this chart tells us about characteristic radiations. Now this is the incident high energy electron, now recoil electron. Now what are the factors controlling the X-ray beam? An X-ray beam may be modified by altering the beam, that is exposure, timing, duration. Exposure duration is the timer, exposure rate is the MA, energy is the kVp or the filtration, and the shape is a collimator, and intensity is the target patient distance. Now exposure, the duration of the exposure and thus the number of photons generated decides the exposure time. Exposure time is directly proportional to the number of photons generated at all energies. The quality of radiation produced is expressed as the product of timer and the tube current. The beam quality or the beam intensifier refers to the number of photons. Now, quality of radiation is produced by an X-ray tube directly proportional to the tube current and the time, that is a timer. Tube voltage is directly proportional to the energy of each electron which strikes the anode target. Thus, there is increased efficiency of the conversion of the electron energy into the X-ray photon, and there is increase in number of photons generated, their mean energy and their maximum energy. This is shown in this chart. Now, what is half value layer? It is a thickness of an absorber such as aluminium required to reduce by 1/2 the number of X-ray photons passing through it. Now, second is the beam quality, refers to the mean energy of an X-ray beam. Now, filtration is the X-ray beam consisting of a spectrum of the X-ray photons of the different energies. The energy of photons should be sufficiently high to penetrate the atmospheric structures and reach the image receptors. Now, low energy photons cannot reach the receptor and contribute to the patient's exposure, that is risk without any benefit. So these low energy photons should be removed from the beam, that is by the filtration. So what applies to the filtration is to keep the X-rays which are useful, keep those who are going to contribute for the quality, and remove those who are just going to increase the radiation without being any positive effect. Now this is the filtration. Now there are two types of filtration. Inherent filtration, that is primary beam passes through the glass of the X-ray tube, the insulating oil and the tube head seal. This is the inherent filtration. Approximately it is equivalent to 0.5 to 1 mm of aluminium. And second is called as added filtration. Added filtration is a placement of the aluminum disc in the path of X-ray beam. The aluminum disc may be added in 0.5 mm of increments. The total filtration is equivalent to inherent plus added filtration. So 1.5 millimeters of aluminum up to 70 kV we use as a filtration, and 2.5 millimeter of aluminum we use for the higher. Now collimation. Collimation is a metallic barrier with an aperture in the middle used to reduce the size of the tube beam and therefore volume of irradiated tissues. They are of two types. One is fixed and second is adjustable. Now again, on the basis of shape, it's either round or rectangular shape can be seen. Now collimation can be round. There is a circle 7 mm diameter. They are thick plate of radio opaque material, or they are circular opening centered over the port and increase radiation exposure. Now second is the rectangular, that is just larger than the X-ray film and size is around 2 intraoral. Now specifically require film holding instrument. Collimation improves image quality. It reduces scattered photons, that is Crompton scattering. It reduces the exposure area, and thus the number of scattered photons reaching the film are reduced. Now intensity. Now target patient distance. Intensity of an X-ray beam, that is the number of photons as per cross-section area of the exposure time. It is inversely proportional to the square of the distance from the source. Now here it is shown. Now interaction of the X-rays with the matter. The dental imaging, the X-ray beam enters the face of the patient, interacts with the hard and soft tissues, and then strikes the digital sensor. As the beam goes to the patient, it's attenuated and the X-ray photons are either absorbed, scattered, or there is no interaction or passes through and through. Now interaction of the X-ray with the matter is due to the incident beam striking the patient is partially homogeneous and remains beam. The beam that exists the patient is especially heterogeneous. Now these differential exposures of the film allows a radiograph to be revealed. The morphological features of the enamel, dentine, bone and soft tissues can be seen. The mean of the beam attenuation are the coherent attenuation, photoelectric absorption and the Crompton. Now coherent scattering. Classical is the elastic, that is the Thomson scattering. When a low energy incident photon less than 10 keV passes near a outer electron, that is the momentarily excites the electron at the same frequency. The excited electron then returns to the ground state and generates another X-ray photon with the same frequency. Now here we are seeing the coherent scattering. Now, secondary photon is emitted at an angle to the path of the incident photon. Direction of the incident ray photon is altered. It accounts for only 7% of the total number of interactions. Little to the film fog because the number of scattered photon is small. Their energy is too low for many of them to reach the film and the sensor. The coherent scattering has got no role or no usefulness in imaging. When the incident photon interacts with electron in the inner orbit of an atom of the absorbing medium, the photon ejects the electron from its orbit and it becomes a recoil electron. Now kinetic energy, the recoil electron energy of the incident photon is the binding energy of the electrons. In case of the atoms of the low atomic number, that is for example those in the most biological molecules, the binding energy is small and the recoil electron requires most of the energy of the incident photon. It is about 23% of the interaction. Now, electron deficiency instability filter by a high level of electron that is release of characteristic of radiation. Now we are seeing the photoelectric absorption. Now frequency of the photon, that is photoelectric interaction, varies directly with the third power of the atomic number of the absorbent. Now what is photoelectric absorption? Effective atomic number of the compact bone is greater than that of the soft tissues, then probability that a photon will be absorbed by the photoelectric interaction in the bone is approximately 6.5 times, and the difference is readily seen on the dental radiograph as a difference in the optical density of the image. Now, Crompton scattering. 49% of the interactions incident photon collides with an outer electron which receives kinetic energy and recoil from the point of impact. The path of the incident photon is reflected by the interaction. The energy of the scattered photon equals the energy of the incident photon minus the sum of the kinetic energy gained by the recoil electron and its binding energy. Now, what is Crompton scattering? Crompton scattering is the scattered photons continue on their new path, causing further ionization. Probability of a Crompton interaction is directly proportional to the electron density of the absorber. The number of electrons in the bone is greater than the soft tissues. That is, in the bone it is 5.5 into 10 raised to 23, and in soft tissues it is 3.33 multiplied by 10 raised to 23. Now, darken and degrade the image while carrying no useful information. We have seen in detail lot of things as far as characteristic radiation is concerned, its useful effect, its usefulness, the design of the machine, considering radio physics, how the machines are designed, and how to make best use of them. That is, if we want to produce a sharp image, which type of radiation we should use, which type of factors we should apply is important as far as this physics is concerned. With all these things, I thank you for giving me your valuable time. Please note, radiography is not a race, it's a process. Be a part of it and enjoy the feast of knowledge. I am Dr. Anil Joshi logging off. Till we meet again today, go in detail of physics. It's very useful. Know the details, know its application, and get the best quality film. The best quality film will yield a best quality diagnosis. Take care, do your best and give your best to the patient.